and welcome to our NewsX podcast show, which is Get Candid with Chitvan. Here with me is Sauvik Banerjjee, Managing Director, CEO and Ziki in Sirrus.ai. Hi Sauvik, how are you?
I'm good, Chitvan. Thanks for having me.
So, Sauvik, my very first question to you. Your career journey is nothing short of remarkable transition from being a Ranji cricketer to a tech leader. Can you share a glimpse of what inspired you in this shift?
Yeah, it is. I call myself accidental technologist.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I grew up in Kolkata. I mean, Banerjjee surname, middle class, humble backgrounds. Father was a professor, very senior professor and a scientist. Mother was entrepreneur, and my mother actually played Ranji Trophy for the women's first Ranji Trophy team for Bengal. She
Wow.
was a very avid sportsman, then became a broadcaster. Um, Kind of the family had professional sports in their DNA, especially on the mother side.
Yeah.
So what happens is, you play gully cricket, you play mohalla cricket back in the day. I'm 48, so
Mm.
in growing up in the 80s and 90s, there was no IPL world, right?
First.
And you play for school, and then suddenly you realize that you have some sort of a talent, and then you join a coaching camp, and slowly in Bengal, before the Saurav Ganguly era, Saurav is a few years senior to me.
Oh.
You always aspire, and Calcutta and Bengal is a very sporting loving state with football and cricket and hockey, and it plays every sport from the last 150 years. If you look at the sporting history of Bengal, right? So then started playing, and then slowly, gradually started realizing I was half decent, and under 15 Bengal, then 19 Bengal, then got selected to be part of the India camp of under 19, then a few games here and there. And club cricket in Bengal was very, 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 very strong. And then I'm still, I think Ranji Trophy is one and a half level below playing for the country today. And of course, there is an IPL layer which has come in. Still, if you don't perform for your state, you never get selected for the country, even today, right? And people like Sarfraz Khan and Shubman Gill and Jaiswal and all these guys, they're ultimately the root and output of Ranji Trophy, playing for their own state. Every cricketer in India, actually. And then I pursued university. I got selected, of course, coming from academic background. Studies can't be ignored in a Bengali family. All of that, studies, books, read.
Mm.
What it led to me was cricket kind of became the central force. I became a professional sportsman. I used to get paid by the clubs to play for your club. I used to get paid by the state, and typical remuneration were very limited. That time, if you remember, cricket never used to be 365 days, and monsoon used to be a big monsoon from May, June, and then used to continue to September, October. And I started going to England to play club cricket. And the rule was one guy can go there, and overseas, one professional can represent a club, and overseas, one amateur. And they used to sponsor your work permit for playing cricket, actually. And it still remains very much so. And that rule is still getting extremely well utilized by many young budding cricketers and professional cricketers. I mean, like Chetashwar Pujara today is playing in the county circuit, right? Ajinkya Rahane, and they're not playing for their country, they're playing for one of the counties in England. But England started happening on an every year basis. By around 99, circumstantially, recreational sport being Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday evenings.
Yeah.
Most of the colleagues are professional in the corporate world or in the tech world in UK, in Europe. And circumstantially, I met a couple of colleagues who said that, why don't you look at some alternatives? And I was pretty decent. I'd done my university over here in financial computing. I was part of St. Xavier's, Calcutta University, and I was learning computers. And then I got a job as a programmer with British Petroleum. And then slowly I realized that there was money and in pounds sterling, right? And for us, in 19, 20, 21-year-old youngster from the streets of Bengal to just suddenly be recognized as a programmer in Western Europe, I realized that, okay, fine, let's pick this up. And then I slowly transitioned. Formally, I gave up cricket in India and I stayed back in England, got a work permit to work for a couple of organizations. And then I enrolled myself in a research doctorate under Professor John McIntyre, who is considered the father of neural networks, which is the backbone of AI, core AI, not Gen AI. And then started doing my research, and the research turned into the second research, and then I became an online music entrepreneur, and then I became a second entrepreneurship was with hardware and building barcode scanning device and a company, and then slowly that led to one of the other. The world of cricket slowly took a backseat. Professionally, I couldn't afford to get paid because my whole focus was then finishing my research and doing a full-time job to feed the hungry stomach, and of course humble backgrounds, support my parents, and I kept on playing cricket. I still play cricket, but of course now it's a little dodgy knee and a dodgy shoulder. And to be honest, cricket has always been cricket always teaches you so much:
Yeah.
strategy, management, conflict management, negotiations, tactics, and it's a thinking man's game, right? I mean, you know how cricketers evolve, and I play all sports, but the world turned into technology in 2000, and transitioned in within a year actually, and then stayed back in England, and then went on to build very many things. Accenture Digital, the founding team member, Infosys Europe's platforms and Infosys Europe's e-commerce vertical. Then I became the chief technology officer for SAP, or for the emerging platforms of SAP, and that led me to come to India. That led me to come to India in 2017 to build Reliance Jio. Sorry, 2015 to build Reliance Jio, and then as part of SAP, I was building Reliance Jio and deployed to them, and then to the Tata Group, building Tata Click, and then slowly transitioned into Tata Group, built Tata Click's ecosystem, Tata Digital, Tata New, and then left Tata Group in 2022, and then slowly then built Resolve, which got listed in NASDAQ in August 2024 as the first Gen AI company in the world. And while I was doing that, Ziki and Sirrus happened in 2022. And slowly in the background, I was building these three organizations. And that's where we are today. Quick, short summary of a cricketer turning techie income and entrepreneur.
I hear that, of course. So my next question to you: you have been part of some iconic project like Geo, Tata Click, and Tata Neo Super App. What do you say in the common thread connecting these ventures?
Technology
Yeah.
at the backbone, and consumer technologies. See, you can build very many technologies for business processes. Say, suppose you can build an ERP, you can build financial accounting, you can build CRMs and LMSs, and you can build MarTech and AdTech. But consumer tech is different. Consumer tech requires to build a great search. Consumer tech requires to build a great integration with third-party platforms, and especially marketplaces. And consumer tech requires a phenomenal UI UX, which actually connects with the human emotion. It's weird. I always give this analogy when you're looking at a e-tech platform or a retail platform, whether it's you're trying to buy a pair of shoes or a dress, or you're booking, or you're trying to feed your family by booking a great Chinese or a great Indian. If the physical image on the platform doesn't appeal, and there's a lot of technology behind that. There's a lot of science behind that. There's a lot of thumb architecture behind that. So consumer tech is fundamentally which connects, I guess, the Tata Group's consumer tech story, Reliance's consumer tech story, those which I have been small part of building those. Consumer tech is a little different. Yes. Because you're constantly analyzing human behavior of a faceless, nameless sort of a human being who's pouring his money on. And online has had its own shares of pros and cons. But at the core, of the fulcrum, if the leadership of the organizations believed in consumer psychography and marrying that with technology, that actually is the common thread. I guess not only the ones which I have been part of, but a lot of the other ones which are making heads turn in the country.
So my next question to you, like India is the cups of AI revolution. What step do you
Yeah,
think are essential for the country to fully seize this opportunity?
very good question. See, let's break the AI categories down, right? AI has been there for over 60 plus years. Physical robotics is powered by core neural modeling AI, right? Then you have got semantic AI, which is semantic network powering AI, which is a decision tree driven AI. You give data, you want certain outputs, and that gives you more insights driven. And then there is the other multifaceted category of predictive, cognitive, and projective AI. And the last output of AI, of course, is Gen AI. Now, India is having built consumer tech and understanding, trying to understand and be a student of India's consumer psychology. Um, India changes extremely, and we all know this, but reality is India do have a very different fabric. So one state has a different food palette, the other state has a different food palette. One state wears a certain set of dresses, other states wears a certain set of dresses.
Yeah.
One state speaks a certain language, other state speaks a certain language. And then there's familial dialect. So example, um, the northern part of India might have Punjabi, Haryanvi, but there's a understanding and a dialectism of Hindi, right? People have familiar language pairs. Food palette also transitions. So when you build AI for, say, suppose US, which has got one language, one currency, one ecosystem, one food palette, one set of dress palette, or you build for a country like, say, suppose any of the Western European English-speaking countries or non-English speaking countries, say, suppose UK, all the counties speak English, all the counties have a certain amount of dress based on the weather patterns and based on the fashion patterns, and the food is very similar. India actually has completely disparate fabrics, right? We all know that because we all stay in this country. So for an AI to get give value, AI has to lot to learn. The learning time for AI is a lot higher. So that's why if you as a very common problem we all face today in the Gen AI world is we don't get Indian faces as outputs of Gen AI, whether you use Midjourney or whether you use, Sora, you don't get Indian faces because the data is all American or all European, right? To
Yeah.
get an Indian face output of a Gen AI, you have to do deep prompt engineering. And slowly we are seeing a little bit of that coming out.
Yeah.
Because the data which India has is very, very different. And it's so rich and it's not going to ever change.
Yeah.
So the AI value offering to India use case is very different. And now you take the agricultural industry and you take the healthcare industry. It's very different because our problems are very driven and very, very different than a problem in Western Europe or US or China or Southeast Asia. Now, AI will learn a lot more and quickly learn because there are so many disparate use cases. The real value comes in the next 36, 48 months when they've started to understand that the southern part of India is different from the northern part of India. So the output we want from all AI type of models, including Gen AI, they will learn. And that learning has to be given time because AI is as good as what the data it sees. AI can't ground up generate recommendations or algo recommendations or output recommendations. So if you say a use case in Bengal for AI might become very different use case of the same use case which is in Tamil Nadu or a same use case which is in Punjab or Maharashtra. So that learning you have to give time. Once they learn it, you will have a multifaceted value coming out from AI algos, models, and core neural models, which we will work. But it is as good as the data it consumes. And that's where the problem lies. The data is not clean. The data is fragmented. That's where the problem is. And I think Indians, as a conscious 35-year-old millennial nation, is conscious of what data they are giving and is conscious of what data they are consuming with consent. And we all Indians are very, very sharp in selecting what data to give and what data to consume. So I think it's a transitionary phase, and India will explode in the next 36 to 60 months when the algorithms have learned it on a structured data and on the internet data. So that's the way I am looking at it, Chitvan.
So nice. So my next question to you, how can AI be the leverage to bridge the gap between the technology and the inclusivity, especially in a diverse country like India?
Very interesting question. Let me let me let me give you one thought. And while I'm answering, I'm also thinking it's a very good question. Let's take the example of Maharashtra, and let's take the example of Punjab, and let's take the example of Bengal. The food palette, the food palette recommendations will have significant influence of AI recommendation algos if the learning is great.
True.
Example,
Mhm.
1 crore people living in western parts of India, including Maharashtra, and take 1 crore people consuming AI algorithms in the Punjab and the northern part of India, and 1 crore people consuming AI algorithms in Bengal and the eastern part of India. Let's just take 1 crore people. 3 crore people are consuming AI. Now, they're consuming AI through OTT platforms. They're consuming AI through Facebook and Instagram platforms. They're consuming AI through YouTube, and they're consuming AI through e-tech platforms. Food tech, e-tech, whichever way you call it. And they're consuming AI through e-commerce retail platforms. Let's look at the marketplaces. Let's include that. Now, these 3 sets of segments, including all genders, have got different needs. Say, suppose Sauvik, who's 48, is a family man with 2 kids, wife, work, friends, colleagues, little bit of shared interests in sports, music, books. My consumption pattern in YouTube, Instagram, and food tech and e-commerce marketplaces is going to be very different. However, there is a 48-year-old Shovik who lives in Punjab or Gurgaon, and a 48-year-old Shovik in a multiverse model, maybe the doppelgangers of Shovik living in Kolkata and Shiliguri and Orissa. Our consumption patterns are very different. The influencing part of AI will be if the AI algorithm world will be able to meet the n equal to 1 personalized offering. Say, suppose Chitvan is also consuming YouTube. Chitvan is also consuming content on other platforms, and e-commerce usage is there, payment usage is there. As a consumer part, because we are all consumers. So a version of Shovik will be very different on the eastern part of India to the northern part of India to the southern part of India to the western part. Because if the AI can give me that amount of accurate recommendations in my consumables, then it becomes a big influencer. Now, the downside to that is that influencer algos from all platforms can keep me in a bubble. So, example, if I love Joe Rogan, I'll keep seeing Joe Rogan on YouTube. If I am India cricket team fan, I'll keep seeing India cricket team reels on Instagram. And if I like a biryani, being a bong, I will keep getting biryani recommendations on my food tech platforms. But that's the con, that my choices will become hyper n equal to 1 personalized influences of AI. So we have to consciously take ourselves as users out and see and sometimes break the clutter and the bubble amidst our own feed and consume more different types of content. So influence can be great and influence has a downside. So let me put it that way.
So my next question, what an example you have given us. So nice. So, my next question to you, tell us about the vision behind Sirrus.ai Ziki and Yuko. How are these ventures transforming AI driving solution for modern living?
That's a good word. Very good question. So UQ is our premium experience living in colloquial terms, an experience premium living, shared living configuration. It's fundamentally managed rental. Now it's co-living and managed rental can be in very different parts. That's I'm talking about UQ. It's a dedicated set of towers which are hours, and three to 400 to 500 residents will be there. But fundamentally, the life of UQ will be engagement. It is fundamentally, how will people live together? Today, we are forced to live together in a paying guest accommodation for a young millennial who work in a tech cluster city like a Hyderabad, Delhi, Pune, Bangalore. You meet them first time coming out of your native cities. You're paranoid. You're 20, 26, 27-year old. You have worked 3, 4, 5 years. You're in a new city. Who do I live with? My preferences are different. I could be vegetarian. I could be vegan. I am a non-smoker. I don't like somebody snoring next door. Who do I live with? So AI plays a big part in selecting and chasing. And it will learn. It will learn. Everything is learning as we speak. And UQ is trying to cater, and AI principles are embedded in there. Pricing principles are embedded. Um, Engagement principles are engaged through AI. So if I like to be part of a UQ tower where I am I want to be part of the football club, and Chitvan wants to be part of the tennis club. So we should have different clubs in terms of being mapped. That's the AI play. In Ziki, we are building a community platform for premium societies, for primarily taking and giving value offering to people like yourselves and myself who don't actually go much out because all the amenities are there. Sports amenities are there, club rooms are there, cafes are there. In the large, the wealthy cities and the tier 1, tier 2 cities, urbanization is very, very strong in India, and it will only spike. So the idea is to get people downstairs, make them together, make them part of the community, build that community in person, and then take them on the app journey once they have met. That's the way we are trying to build. I mean, there are lots of gate management systems. There are lots of parking management systems. We are not that. Ziki is trying to build communities, physical communities together. How can we build a physical community within 3 society of a marathon club? And then monetize that with the merchandise which is available for the marathon runners. How can we build a music club for pop and ballad? So you have the ability to build that community and then merchandise them with all the digital SKUs and the physical SKUs what music needs. Or how can be part of Indian luxury? You can get 100 men, women together who love Indian luxury and then help them monetize that. So that's Ziki, fundamentally building communities. Because I think in a disconnected world, we are stopping to communicate. We are stopping to integrate. It's an impossible ask we have taken. AI is trying to leverage and pillars of AI. There's a lot of non-AI tech part also. And Sirrus.ai is a customer experience platform for the real estate industry, where a prospect for a real estate developer can be moved from becoming a first-time buyer. And that whole journey, today, intelligence doesn't lie in a lead coming in. Do I want to go again for the booking? Do I want to again see the house? Do I want to take my wife and family and my mom and dad to see my first buy? Those intelligences are not there in today's systems. And then collaterals, lakhs of rupees get spent on building a brochure, 2D to 3D. Those are happening in minutes and seconds thanks to Sirrus.ai's modules. And then the third parties, once you've booked your house, the whole documentation process, the hand-holding process for moving a paranoid family or a worried family to their house, still in the real estate industry's ownership and responsibility. So this whole arc from interest to moving into a house, that's what Sirrus.ai is trying to solve. So one of a kind platform we have built, and we're getting a decent traction now. We launched 6 months back. Ziki is also launched 6 months back. UQ just got launched in our first
So nice.
UQ Jobs Tower. Early days, three young little businesses, early days. And that's where we are. TCG Group has incubated and supported and founded these three organizations, and they think there is merit in these sort of use cases to be solved. And India is a plethora of use cases to be solved through tech and AI.
So my next question, we have very less time with us, but as per our conversation, like we are going with the intense conversation and we are having a good conversation. So my next
Thank you so
question
much.
to you, in your view, how will AI redefine operational process in industries like retail, healthcare, and urban planning?
Let me take urban planning as the first one. See, AI is embedded in the geospatial ecosystem as well. AI is embedded in all our satellite navigating systems as well, and satellite backbone systems,
Yeah.
because it's continuously interpreting data. In urban planning, today we don't know the measurement. There's a lot of work goes on with physical human labor trying to figure out where do we do urbanization, where do we actually build commercial real estate, where do we build a mall, where do we build a retail mall with a cinema and many restaurants, and look at it as barren land right now. Right, in a barren land, we are able to understand the depth of the demography. Is there an appetite for this? Number two, the physical soil type and the weather type. Is it worth for urbanization at that point? Number three is AI can help you, give you great insights. Is what sort of a configuration you want to build, from construction, from a base creation. All that data today, a lot of our data is today now generated by AI and a mesh in the Western world, in Europe, in Middle East, in US. They look at that data, and then AI is playing the silent um, data provider, insight provider in the back seat, and we don't get to know it. But that's where the falcon lies. That's on urban planning. In retail is advanced compared to retail, and healthcare and fintech is embraced AI beautifully. Retail, we will see a lot of in-store AI augmentation. You will see a lot of in-store companion concierge, not in a physical robot, but in terms of AI embedded in kiosks, AI embedded in EDC machines where we do checkouts, right? AI embedded in the consoles of a store assistant. So suppose I'm buying a washing machine and the store assistant has some sort of a tablet. That's how you do checkouts in the large retail electronic guys today in India, right? There they're saying, sir, ma'am, you are eligible for this sort of instrument. Those are recommendations based on your profile. And profile recommendations are backbones of AI.
Yeah.
There's a couple of small use cases, and it's got plenty. Every touch point when a human being moves into a retail store, to understanding what sort of a human being he is he a return customer? Is he a new customer?
Yeah.
To then picking a product, talking to a store assistant, going to the checkout, getting the package or getting it delivered at home. This whole journey has got AI nudges baked in all sorts of platforms. And then healthcare, I think we know the real story. AI-powered robotic surgery has commenced and has become regular in the large hospital institutions. Molecular biology is going through a lot of AI drug discovery. Drug discovery where molecules are being matchmaking. AI is continuously doing that, predicting health. All of our wearables have embedded AI, whether it's Whoop to an Apple product, to a Samsung product, to any wearable product trying to understand heart rate. All of that is basically compute and data embedded within the AI. The recommendations are all AI-driven recommendations. Insights are all driven. So they've already become part of our lives. And AI is playing a big part for a few years. That's why I say healthcare, fintech, retail are a little advanced. There are other industries which will slowly catch up.
So my next question to you, during your tenure at Resolve.ai, you oversaw groundbreaking AI advancement. What are the some of the key takeaways from the experience that you now applying in your current venture?
You see, AI is, we are all students of AI because the public adoption of AI is happening in various phases in different industries. So Resolve was trying to and is doing a great job in replacing the e-commerce search with the conversational AI and understanding intent, understanding the customers' um, context. That means for retail, fundamentally, in e-commerce, and that's Resolve's core use case. And I learned that understanding the core context is not easy. Understanding the core intent, and then classify that intent to give an output through an AI algorithm. It's all dependent on data. And one part of Resolve AI was structured data for a product catalog. I'll give you an example. So suppose you are an American retailer or an American electronics retailer.
Mhm.
They have a structured catalog. In a structured catalog, you have metadata, title, description, offers.
Mhm.
You have detailed manufacturing information of electronics or apparel. So the context kind of is aware on the product side, but the consumer side context of what he or she or anyone wants is very difficult to predict. So
Mhm.
it's a trial and error process. And over here, the learnings are getting implemented very similarly because intent, context, and mindset and behavioral decoding
Yeah.
is the crux to give you a more accurate recommendation. So those are the learnings which are getting implemented, and those learnings have been there before Resolve. Resolve just sedimented that thought process. And then when we build these organizations, we have kept those as the tenets and the principles behind how we're going to architect it. So those are the key takeaways which are getting implemented, and it's a constant learning, Chitvan.
Yeah.
As I keep saying, you need to be a student and consume. And behavioral patterns in India are so different.
So different.
So it just allows you to learn a lot more, and logic and common sense plays a big part in understanding the Indian customer
Mhm.
when you're deploying AI.
Cricket taught you teamwork and strategy on the field. How has that shaped your approach to leadership in the tech space?
See, tech is very different. So cricket taught me man management. Cricket taught me behavioral management. Cricket taught me strategic thinking is more important than a tactical thinking for a few hours. You have to mix both of them. So I'll give you an example, especially the third one. You might be playing a tournament and there is a league phase, and you
Mhm.
might want to win the tournament, but you have a vision and a team to build that, which is 10 matches, right?
Yeah.
In our world, you might want to have a fantastic run for 2 years. But the problem is you have to solve the problem for this month. So how do you manage keeping the vision absolutely intact? And so the vision is to build a world-class SaaS platform and to make it available in 3 industries.
Yeah.
So, and make it available in 4 modules. So that's the vision for the next 24 months. And the work starts with adoption of 10 guys this month with 1 module, the adoption of 2 modules, 100 guys. And that's the piece which cricket teaches you. You might want to win this game today in the next few hours, how to win that, which will lead you to the ladder.
Yeah.
That's what cricket teaches you a tremendous amount of man management and handling emotional ups and downs. Cricket teaches you how to be ruthless and supremely competitive, which is very much in the tech space today because the world is driven by tech. Cricket teaches you primarily, one of the most important part is accepting losing is absolutely fine because you might win tomorrow. That's generically in sports, by the way. People who come from sports, they
Mhm.
don't get phased by the so-called terminology failure, because sports is all about winning today, losing tomorrow, and winning again. So that becomes part of your second nature. That is not easy for somebody who hasn't played sports. And I
Yeah.
always encourage today's youngsters to pursue
Mhm.
team sport, because team sport in the world of corporate world tomorrow, in the technology world tomorrow, in whatever industry, you still have to work together to achieve a great objective.
Yeah.
And you will fail on a particular scope.
Hmm.
These are things, the sports and cricket, I think, taught me a lot. And I still use them every day.
So nice. I don't want to leave you right now because our conversation is getting intense and intense. But my last question to you. Lastly, Shovik, if you could share one piece of advice for aspiring tech leaders in India, what would it be?
Not one, I'll give them three small
For
advices.
sure.
And I'm also learning. Let
Mhm.
me call it out first away.
Yeah.
Um, First thing is, trust the judgment of the Gen Zs and the millennials.
Hmm.
They are far more aware than a 48-year-old Shovik or a peer of mine.
Yeah.
They are a digital pilgrim generation. What I say is they are exposed to digitization from the age of 2. Somebody who was born 2 years back, they are exposed, and you cannot take away the screen time or the exposure. And the exposure is not always cartoon content and gaming content in Japanese. They're exposed to so much content, and they're exposed, and that's a parallel school and a university. So trust their judgment. They are very conscious about health. They're very conscious about the environment. So trust Gen Z judgment. Don't think that they are immature. No, they're not. In some fields, they're far more mature. They're far more health conscious and environment conscious
Yeah.
than we were ever, and even today.
Hmm.
Number two is, for the tech leaders, is don't treat individuals just for the sake of an assignment. Invest in them to become assets, because a company is what? A business is what? It's a business without people is thin air, right?
Yeah.
A brilliant company making hundreds and billions of dollars is thanks to great people's working together, and every individual contribution counts. So don't treat them as employees, treat them as assets whenever you identify a great group. And of course, there will be inefficiency and there will be lack of impact driven individuals, and invest in them before you take a point of view about individuals. And the third is continuously study and learn. Tech leaders, after a certain point in time, they think that they know it all. How
Hmm.
can you know it all when in the last 2 years the world has changed thanks to Gen AI? And technology is rapidly changing with times. You can't have a one size fits all mindset. So continuously study, continuously learn, because you will become insignificant and irrelevant if you are not accepting the change of times. So learning process is not an L&D in a company. It is individual, up to yourself. And if you're a leader, you've got to learn different strategies, different mindsets, different behavioral patterns, everything. So learning is not only reading books. Learning is observing. Learning is listening to podcasts, various human beings, interacting rather than only being part of a
Hmm.
generation. So I think that is very, very important.
Thank you, Shovik, for sharing your incredible journey and insights. Your work continues to inspire not just the tech community, but also young leaders looking to make a meaningful impact. We look forward to seeing how you and your venture shape the future of AI and community living. Thank you, Shovik.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.